Thank you, Billy. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Please confirm you can see my screen, right?
Trevor, we can see your screen. Thank you.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And again, Billy, thank you. My name is Trevor Gilbert from the FDA, the Center for Producer Safety. Um, I will present to you a very brief overview of the agricultural water proposed rule. Some of you may have already heard about this, but this is really another unique opportunity for FDA to to engage with you, the stakeholders, to make sure as many of you are aware of this publication on the ag water proposed rule, and so we are forever grateful to the relationship and the partnership that we have with the Georgia Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association to to be able to use this platform to engage. So once again, we value that relationship very very much. So thanks again. So today's presentation is just to provide an overview of the proposed rule, as I mentioned earlier, and is not really meant to serve as an in-depth discussion. And however, you will be strongly encouraged to review the publication and to submit comments to the docket. And I will provide information on that process later on in my presentation as to how you can really have your voices heard to contribute to the final rulemaking. So stay tuned as we go through the very brief presentation. I will get more specifics to that. So what's in this proposed rule for the subpart E of the ag water within the producer safety rule? So if finalized, this proposal will replace the pre-harvest microbial quality criteria and testing requirements in the producer safety rule for covered produce, except for sprouts, with requirements for systems-based pre-harvest agricultural water assessments. So the key note here is that the proposal is only currently looking at the pre-harvest microbial quality criteria for the subpart E. And what is meant by the systems-based assessment, I will show in the following slides. And basically, farms under the system-based assessment, covered farms would be required to conduct a pre-harvest agricultural water assessments once annually, and whenever a change occurs that increases the likelihood that a known or reasonably foreseeable hazard will be introduced into or onto produce or food contact surfaces. So just key notes here I highlighted: once annually and whenever that change occurs to those likelihood of those factors or hazards I mentioned as. Also, the assessments will then be used to identify conditions that are reasonably likely to introduce known or reasonably foreseeable hazards into or onto the food contact surfaces, and to determine whether corrective or mitigation measures are needed to minimize the risk associated with the use of the pre-harvest agricultural water. So just to break it slowly again, the assessments will be the systems-based assessment, and then the results of those will be used to determine if corrective or mitigation measures will be required. And I will show examples of that thinking later on as we go through the presentation. So what really constitutes the agricultural water assessment? And there are key factors that FDA is proposing that would be required, for this assessment. And here are the broad categories as is currently being proposed. We have the agricultural water systems. Farms will, it addresses the location and nature of the water source, the type of distribution system, the degree to which the system is protected, and other factors within the water system as well. Also, factors to be considered is the agricultural water practices that addresses the type of application method, drip, furrow, and other means, the time interval between direct application and harvest. Crop characteristics is also one of the factors that would be required, and it addresses susceptibility of the produce to surface adhesions or internalizations of hazards. Other factors would include environmental conditions, and that addresses the frequency of heavy rain or extreme weather events, looking at air temperatures and sun UV exposure, and also other relevant factors such as testing results that could inform the assessment. So what is being said here is that if the rule is finalized as proposed, it shows that farms would have flexibility in how they conduct their pre-harvest agricultural water assessments, as long as the above factors that we just went through are evaluated and their assessment is documented. So these are the key requirements here. There is flexibility, and these factors must be part of the assessment, and there must be documentation on file. Keep in mind too that in addition to these factors, farms can also gather additional information that may be able to acquire the information from these categories in various ways, such as visual observations on the farm, discussions with local extension agents or associations, online resources such as mapping tools, or other means that are appropriate to the circumstances. Again, elaborating on the point of the flexibilities that's built into this proposed rule as well, which is good. So the outcomes of the ag water assessments, farms would use the assessments to make written determinations, as just mentioned, and about whether corrective or mitigation measures are needed. And the mitigation measures could include expedited measures to address known or reasonably foreseeable hazards in agricultural water systems associated with animal activity, biological soil amendments of animal origin, or untreated or improperly treated human waste on adjacent and nearby land. So this summary here is basically a capture of different view of what I've just said in the previous slides, and just to sort of bring it into perspective for you. So in the blue shaded category, that really addresses your assessments. And also, if you determine the very first example, if you determine that your agricultural water is not safe, or it's not of adequate sanitary quality for its intended use or uses, then the farm, coming to the right, must immediately discontinue the use or uses of that water and take corrective measures before resuming the use, for pre-harvest activities. Another outcome of the pre-harvest agricultural water assessment, the second example, if there is one or more known reasonably foreseeable hazard related to animal activity, biological soil amendments, or untreated or improperly treated human waste for which mitigation is reasonably necessary, then the farm must implement mitigation measures promptly and no later than the same growing season. The next example is very similar with a key exception. And the key exception is if that known or reasonably foreseeable hazard is not related to animal activity or BSAOs as mentioned, the farm would then be required to implement mitigation measures as soon as practicable and no later than the following year, or test the water as part of the assessment and implement measures as needed based on the outcome of the assessment. And again, these are some of the the flexibility is built into the proposed rule, and it's again based on the assessment. And here are the guidance